This is, well, here, let me show you. This was not me without a beard. This is me without a beard. That's what an author looks like when he finishes a book and sends it off to the printer. These are several of the other books that I've done. The last time I was here was the Valley of Athletes book, which is about the Saginaw Valley Athletic Association. The gentleman on the cover is Jim Abbott. If you're not aware, he's the former Major League pitcher now that was born without a right hand, so he was a left-handed pitcher. I was thinking about when I was coming into the parking lot here. I did a book presentation for the Michigan State Alumni Association, the Bay County Michigan State Alumni Association, and as I was walking in, because Jim Abbott is a graduate of the University of Michigan, a gust of wind took his poster and it ended up somewhere out in the thumb, I think. And I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but as I said, I write a newspaper column called Rick Off the Record. The Discovering Hidden Treasures 1 and 2 is a compilation of those. I say it's famous people, not so famous people, and some people that will never be famous. So, and the other book was Images of America, Gladwin County, done by Arcadia Publishing. And just to wrap up, this is the latest book that I'm researching on. And just in casual conversation with the people that are here, I've already got another half dozen people that have volunteered to research for the book. But this has been fun. I'm probably about a third of the way through. Hopefully we'll be done by midsummer. But I think that the one nice thing that I've found is that the people that I've interviewed are very passionate about the product that they produce, but also are well aware of the fact that it's something that not only they love to make, but they love to share. So, as I said, I'm kind of looking forward to finishing up with this book. But to wrap things up, I'd be more than glad to answer any of your questions. I absolutely overwhelmed you with all this information, huh? Yeah.
You talked about one racer, driver, who was in an open wheel race. What does that mean?
Well, if you notice, a stock car looks kind of like a street car, so to speak. An open wheeled car is no fenders. The wheels are open. Much more dangerous racing an open wheel than they say beating and banging, you know, when you got that fender to protect it a little bit, but it's a little bit different when you hit wheel to wheel. So there are a lot more spectacular crashes too, but much more dangerous. And I think one of the things that was, no matter how many times I asked the question, I was still surprised by the answer, because most of the guys that I talk to, they've got to be a little bit crazy to do this. I mean, seriously, they've got to be a little bit crazy to do this. And the reality is, fear never entered their mind. I mean, when they got into crashes, they would turn right around and as fast as they could get right back in that car, you know. And you have to admire them for that courage, you know, to do that. I mean, I watched, you know, through YouTube and films and so forth, spectacular crashes where you would think there's no way they could walk away from that. It's just, Joe Ruttman told me about testing one of his friend's cars down at Talladega, which is what they call a super speedway. It's restrictor plate now, so they kind of keep the speeds down, and the reason why is because they were going so fast, they literally were taking off. So they had to do something to reduce the speed. So they put restrictor plates on the car, but he went out to test one of his buddy's cars, and he said, I came off of turn 4, and he said, all of a sudden I realized that the grandstands was out the driver's side window, and he said, I knew that wasn't right. And he said, so I started looking for a soft place to land. He said, you know, he said, I destroyed his car, got out, apologized, and right back to the pit and got in his car, you know. I mean, it's just amazing. You hear stories one after another of, really, it took a lot of courage to do that. And now the safety equipment is so much better than it used to be. So much better than it ever used to be. And they've done things like put the soft wall in, you know, to cushion that, and the 5-point harness that they use, it's built right here in Saginaw, Michigan, you know, for NASCAR. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting to talk to those people, you know, and hear about that. Yeah?
You said the qualifying speed was 75 miles an hour. Was that the first, which race was that?
The very first Indianapolis 500.
So what is it today?
Well, it's whoever goes the fastest now, and for many years now, it's been well over 200 miles an hour. You know, but that is open wheel racing. Indy cars, that's open wheel racing. You know, and really spectacular crashes there too, many, many times. I was telling Kathy here, because she happens to be related to the Haroons. It was so nice to be able to interview Dick because he told me about his dad racing there, you know, when it was literally in its infancy. And they had many, many chances to go back, you know, and had many lengthy conversations about that. One of the things that they do now is they race for 200 laps. And when you finish, when one car finishes that 200 laps, wherever you are in relation to all the other cars, that's where you finish. Gordon Johncock, very famous, win over Rick Mears, something like about this much. And it was that close for the last 4 laps. And he told me, he said, racing against Rick Mears, who went on to win 4 Indianapolis 500 races. I said, so if it would have gone 1 more lap, do you think Rick would have passed you? He said it could have gone 1, it could have gone 5, it could have gone 10 more. He wasn't going to get by me. But the very first race, you know, I mean, they did things like, you know, when your car broke down, if you could get back to the pits, you turned around and went the wrong way to get back to the pits. I mean, this was well before they had a lot of rules and regulations. But the other thing was, in the first Indianapolis 500, which took 6 hours plus for Ray to win it, in order for you to have a sanctioned finish in the Indianapolis 500, you had to go 500 miles. And Dick said that there were people out there trying to repair their car at 8, 9 o'clock at night to get back out there to finish their laps so that they could get paid, so that it would be a sanctioned finish. Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
Did they always have, from the first one, seatbelts?
Started out ropes. They used ropes to tie themselves in, but a lot of race car drivers didn't like that restriction. They liked, you know, to be able to kind of lean into the curve, so to speak. They used safety equipment reluctantly as it came along. I guess probably is about the best way to say it, you know. But it is amazing to look at those cars now. And the Jack Goodwin that I talked about, a spectacular crash down at Jackson, was shipped right off to the University of Michigan for an operation on his brain that they'd never done before. They'd never filmed an operation before. He said that he saw the film and he actually knows that he has a brain because he saw it on the film. But cardboard. His helmet was made of cardboard. Isn't that something? Wow. Just amazing. One of the other things I'll share with you too before we wrap it up, we end up taking a lot of things for granted because we're spoiled as far as transportation and race cars are concerned. But Ray Haroon won his race, retired, moved to Michigan, started the Haroon Motor Company in Wayne, Michigan. And I said to Dick, I said, did you ever get a chance to drive one of the, because he was just a little boy then. He wasn't even born when his dad won the Indianapolis 500. He was born 1915. And I said, did you ever get a chance to ride in one of the Haroon Roadsters? Oh, he said, yeah. He said, my dad would give me a ride around the block every day before he went to work. And he said, you know, riding in a car, that was a big deal. And you know, we don't think about that now. But even back in the teens, it was a big deal to ride in a car. And he said, yeah, my neighbor, my friend would come and we would go with my dad around the block. And he said, one day, he said, I believe the kid's name was John. And he said, John wasn't there. So my dad took me around the block, and by the time we got back to the driveway, there was John, and he was standing there crying. And my dad said, John, what's the matter? And he said, I didn't get a chance to go around the block with you. So he got John in the car, and they went around the block again. And he said they were just pulling up to the driveway, and John started crying again. And he said, my dad turned to him and said, well, what's the matter now? And he said, Dick got to go twice, and I only got one. But we don't even think about that now. Because we take our transportation for granted. But there was a time when it really was a big deal, to be able to get a ride in a car. Well, listen, I've decided that the race car books are on sale for $15. There's a Abominable Snowman sale for any other book that you want for $5. So, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come out on kind of a Michigan winter day. It's been fun. Thank you.